Good afternoon, boys and girls, and mommies and daddies, and grandmommies and grandpoppies. I am a few minutes late today. I do apologize. It's nice to talk to friends that live far away, and that's what I was doing. And I looked at the clock and I said, "Oh dear, I've got to hang up." So that's what we did. Today's story is the back to the school, the first day of school since their vacation. Well, Miss Eileen, she was a pretty good teacher, and so the first thing they had to do after they called the roll and saw who was here and everything was, of course, to say the Pledge of Allegiance and the Lord's Prayer. Well, when they got through with all of that, and the principal, Mrs. Lee, she made all of her announcements like she did every day. And these kids, they knew that when they got into about the 6th grade or so, that they would be chosen. Somebody from each room each day would be chosen to make the announcements, and they couldn't wait because they wanted their turn. Well, Miss Eileen says, okay, the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to tell about our Christmas vacations. Well, you know that Piggly and Wiggly and Squiggly and the Little Bad Wolf and Ally the Alligator and Patty Pig, they were so, oh my gracious sakes, they were squirming in their seats and they kept raising their hand because they wanted to tell something so bad. Now, Miss Eileen, being the smart teacher that she was, she knew already where they had gone, and so she was going to save them to the last. And she was also going to tease them because they wanted to talk so bad. So some of the kids from town that went to that school, well, they did they did fun things like going to see their grandma and their grandpa, and then one of them went to the skating rink, and they did different things like that. And one of them told them about going shopping at the last minute because they forgot to get a Christmas present. And so, it was fun. Well, of course, you know who, they were just squirming. Oh my gosh, oh my God, I want to talk so bad. I want to talk. Can I talk? And she just kind of like overlooked them, never saw them. And she had a big smile on her face. And so Ally the Alligator, he figured out what she was doing. And so he told he whispered to the one and then whispered to the next one. And, they went around the circle where they sat. And he told him, he said, Miss Eileen is teasing us because she knows what we know, and she wants us to talk later. So, sure enough, when she called on Piggly, Wiggly, and Squiggly, then she said, Little Bad Wolf, Ally the Alligator, and Patty Pig, you can all come up and tell us your story. Well, the other kids thought, they didn't get to go in a group. How come these kids went in a group? And Miss Eileen says, well, I've called them up in a group because they all went somewhere together. Where did you go, Little Bad Wolf? And Little Bad Wolf says, well, last summer when we were playing, we found a little girl that was lost in the woods. And then Squiggly said, yes, and we played and had such a good time. And nobody came to get her, and so then we took her to, and Piggly jumped in and he says, we took her to Mr. Farmer Brown's house because we knew that he would be able to help us. And he was all excited. And so they told the story to the boys and girls about Princess Hannah, that they had had a lot of fun with her. And then when she told him her name, she only said Hannah. But then one time when she was talking to Mr. Farmer Brown and Mrs. Farmer Brown, she slipped and she said she was a princess. And she had a mama who was the queen. And that's when Farmer Brown and Mrs. Farmer Brown got very worried about, oh my gracious sakes, who is this child and where is she from? Well, then she's from some country that GrandMommy can't even pronounce, And so that's when they got worried, and they finally got a hold of her mother and everything like that. Well, in the meantime, she played every day with the boys and girls, and she stayed with Mrs. Farmer Brown. and she slept in Mrs. Farmer Brown's daughter Wendy's room. You remember that? So they were telling the other children in the class all these little details and trying to hurry up because they knew that Miss Eileen kind of wanted to start, I think mathematics was first, and nobody liked that, so they were trying to stretch the story as long as they could. Well, anyway, oh boy, they were telling about the snow that they saw over there, and that they went on a picnic with heaters all around the picnic tables, and they went skiing. And oh, the boys and girls really wanted to hear about the skiing trip. And everybody looked at Ollie the alligator, and he goes, gulp. Okay, I'll tell that story. And so he told about him wanting to go up on the next higher ski slope, and what happened to him. And he says, look, he said, I got what they call a boot. He says, and it's very uncomfortable. And he says, it's hard to walk. And all the kids laughed. And so one little boy says, we wondered why you came in limping. And he said, yeah, that's why I came in limping. Well, they had such a good time telling their stories and what all they did and what they brought back. And Allie the alligator told about his great big canoe, and he says, this summer I'm going to take people on trips in my canoe. He said, I'm going to make me some money. Well, that was a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Piggly Wiggly and Squiggly said, I wish we'd have thought about that. And Allie the alligator says, no, you boys have got your lawn mowing service. He said, you don't need a boat service. He says, that's my department. And so the boys said, well, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, we'll keep our lawnmower service. Well, they finally got through with their story, and then they did their mathematics. And oh my gracious sakes, some of the kids could do math real good, and some of the kids couldn't do math real good. And that's the way it goes. So you can't always do it real good. And then it was lunchtime. And so the lunchroom ladies, oh my gracious sakes, they had fixed such a special dinner for these kids because they knew they were coming back to school. And sometimes the kids didn't want to go back to school, but it was always the best thing to do, is to go back to school. So they had fixed spaghetti. You had your choice of spaghetti or ravioli or meatloaf. And I can tell you right now, mommies and daddies and grandmommies and grandpappies, not too many of the kids ate the meatloaf. Sometimes that's the only thing they will eat at school. But this time they had spaghetti and ravioli to choose from. And so they scarfed those two down real quick. And it was time to go back to class. And the rest of the day was pretty calm and pretty regular. They had a reading program. And they had a little bit of science and a little bit of history, and then it was time to go. And the bell rang, and they all went out to their mamas, to the cars, and they drove home. And boys and girls, that's kind of a short story today, isn't it? But Wednesday, I think something special might happen Wednesday. We'll think about that, and we'll see, okay? Because Grandmommy never knows what she's going to say when she sits down here in this chair. And with that, we will close. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm cold. So, all you people up north, you must be freezing. If we're cold down here, y'all must be freezing up north. I don't know. I used to live up there for a short time. It was fun in those days. Don't know what it would be now. Okay, I ask you all to comment, to tell me something that you did when you were little that you like to do, and maybe we can work that into a story. Hit the like button, hit the like button, and do share with everybody that you know that you think would like these silly stories. Okie dokie. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Wednesday.